Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. So have you ever come across this phrase, Mandishi Yama Bandikwa?
I have come across this. It's very interesting that you bring that up.
Yeah.
Um,
What do you know about this?
well, I know it's Swahili, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's one of those phrases that I feel like there's the literal translation,
Right.
but then there's like a deeper kind of cultural understanding of it.
Totally, and that's what we're here to unpack today.
Hmm.
So like at the surface level,
Yeah.
Mandishi Yama Bandikwa basically means written text, which okay, fine.
Right. Yeah.
But it seems like it points to something much bigger about like living life with purpose and intention.
Yeah, and I think you're right to home in on that idea of intentionality.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, right, like written text, it it implies that there's an author, that there's someone who's actively crafting a narrative. And in this case, with Mandishi Yamabandikwa, the suggestion is that that author is us. Like, we're the ones who are writing the stories of our lives.
I love that. I love that. So, okay, a lot of times you hear people talk about like finding your purpose.
Right.
Like it's this like thing out there.
Yeah.
Like you got to go and discover
A
it.
holy grail of purpose?
Exactly. But this concept, it's more about the writing itself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. It's not about finding this one preordained purpose that's out there waiting for us. It's about infusing our everyday actions, our choices, our interactions with intention, and that's what gives our lives meaning.
Hmm.
It's like we're crafting the story as we go, and every choice we make, every action we take is like adding another sentence or another paragraph to our own personal narrative.
It's such a good way to put it.
And I've been thinking about this a lot lately, like those authors that you really admire, the ones who can make you feel like every single detail matters.
Yes.
Whether it's the way they describe a setting or the way they develop a character, like they make you lean in and pay attention.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I think about with Mandishi Yamabandikwa. It's like we have the opportunity to do that with our own lives, to make even the smallest moments meaningful.
It's interesting you say that because I think sometimes it can feel overwhelming.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like, oh, I have to find this big purpose, and then every single thing I do has to ladder up to that.
Right. And if it doesn't, then I'm failing
Yeah.
somehow.
Skackle.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's a really common misconception, and honestly, I think it can be really paralyzing. You know, because it keeps us from even starting.
Yes.
But what if we looked at it differently?
Yeah.
What if instead of trying to find this one grand purpose,
Mm-hmm.
we focused on finding meaning in the everyday and the little things?
Yeah.
Like maybe it's how you interact with the barista at your favorite coffee shop, or
Yes.
the way you show for your family, or
Yeah.
or even just the way you take care of yourself.
That's so good. And I think about, we've talked about Viktor Frankl on this show before.
Yeah.
And his whole thing, right, was that even in the concentration camps.
Right, finding meaning in the midst of suffering.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, just the resilience of the human spirit there is remarkable to me.
Absolutely. And I think Frankel's work really speaks to the power of perspective. Like we may not always be able to choose our circumstances, but we can choose how we respond to them.
Right.
And that choice, that act of choosing, is where we find our agency.
It's funny. I'm thinking about a time when I had this job and I really didn't enjoy it.
Okay.
But I had to do it, and I remember feeling really uninspired, I guess is the word.
Yeah.
And then I had this like shift in perspective where I was like, you know what? This is allowing me to do X, Y, and Z outside of work, or this is helping me build this skill that I can use later. And just that like slight reframe.
Yeah.
It's such a difference.
I think that's so powerful. And it makes me think about how, oftentimes we talk about purpose as if it's this big grand thing that's separate from our everyday lives.
Right.
But what if it's not? What if purpose is actually found in the integration of those things? Like the way you were saying, you're able to reframe your perspective on your job and see how it was connected to your values and your goals outside of work.
Yes, exactly.
And I think that's something that we can all do, no matter what our circumstances are. Like even if you're not in your dream job yet, or you're going through a challenging time, there are still ways to find meaning and purpose in the midst of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just about looking for those threads and connecting them to something larger than yourself.
It's so interesting you say that because I feel like there's this other piece to it too, which is like the passion piece,
Oh, yeah.
right? Like some people are lucky enough to find work that they're very clearly passionate about.
Right.
But for other people, it's not always like that.
Right. It's not always this straight line, from passion to purpose.
Totally.
And sometimes passion can even be a distraction, I think.
Interesting. How, so,
Well, because we can get so caught up in following our passion that we lose sight of the bigger picture.
that's a good point.
You
Yeah.
know, and the impact we want to make on the world. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's in those moments where we step outside of our comfort zone and we pursue something that maybe we're not initially passionate about, but we know is important.
Yeah.
That's where we really find our purpose.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think, like you said, it's not always linear.
It's messy.
Okay.
It's not linear.
It's messy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a journey.
It's a journey, and there are going to be detours and roadblocks and all of that. But I think what I'm hearing you say is that it's about approaching whatever you're doing
Yeah,
with intention.
absolutely.
Whether it's, something that you feel like you were born to do, or it's just something that's like right in front of you and you're choosing to find the meaning in it.
Yes. Yes, and I think that's really the essence of Mandishi Yamabandikwa.
It all comes back to Mandishi Yamabandikwa. It all comes back to it.
Yeah.
Like recognizing that we are the authors of our own lives and that we have the power to infuse our experiences with meaning no matter what challenges we may face.
I love that. As we kind of start to wrap up here,
Yeah.
is there anything else you want to leave our listeners with today?
Yeah, I would just encourage everyone listening to really reflect on this idea of Mandishi Yamabandikwa and what it means to them. Like what story are you writing with your life?
Yeah.
And are you approaching it with intention? Are you making choices that are aligned with your values and your goals? And if not, what's one small step that you can take today to start writing a new chapter?
That's beautiful. I love that. And I think it's a great place to leave it. So for everyone listening, thank you so much for joining us for another deep dive.
Yes, thank you.
We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.